All right. I hope you all are having a nice weekend. Looking forward to this update. Big update this week, folks. Big update this week. A lot has gone down in the traditional financial markets, as well as with Bitcoin. We're going to get into Bitcoin first. We're going to get into some of the miners. We're going to get into SPY. We're going to get into Nasdaq. We're going to get into some of the altcoins, using others, as well as gold, as well as a dollar, as well as yields, and we're going to make it a pretty comprehensive video. So for what we're starting out with today, and I encourage all of you that have not had a chance to check out my video that I posted on Twitter on Friday. I put together a long video. It's about 40 minutes long. And essentially what it does is goes through my entire cycle thesis, right? For those of you that are new to this channel, again, this isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take this as anything other than educational in my views on the market. I most certainly could be wrong. Timing of these things is the hardest, right? Don't try to time what my opinions are with options. Be prepared if you do that to lose all your money. Majority of my positioning is simply spot position, okay? And so I'm fully prepared to be wrong on the timing. With that being said, let's dive into it. Let's dive into it. So what we're looking at here is the entire history of Bitcoin on the Bitcoin Liquid Index, weekly chart in line form. And I'm not going to go through the content that I went through on the video I posted on Twitter on Friday in that much detail here, just to say that we had a pivotal kind of confirmation to my thesis, confirmation to this thesis, and that occurred with a break in this RSI level over 70, okay, that happened last week. And I've been contending for some time now that my theory is that with each of these cycles that has preceded what I believe is our current cycle that started 2018, we've had a set of circumstances that have all occurred within each of these preceding cycles, and there's 4 to 5 similarities that just point to confluence that we are indeed towards the end of this current cycle, not the beginning of a new one. And one of those points was that RSI confirms these impulses on the weekly time frame, and the confirmation of a new impulse being when RSI gets into this overbought region, right? Into this overbought region. And in each of the cycles, we've had at least 3 occasions which line up with the Elliott wave principle of looking at a macro move with 3 major impulses, okay? And that's aligned with what we've seen in previous bull cycles. And it was missing, right? We had 1, we had 2, and what everyone was calling the top of the 2018, 19, 20 cycle didn't have that, right? That all-time high never breached 70. So in my opinion, that was a corrective move. And so with this week, what we saw is a breach of that 70, which kind of confirms the beginning of an impulsive move. And so when I'm looking at what I'm expecting to happen next for Bitcoin, it's based on this historical data of how it acts when it enters these impulsive moves, as defined by a couple of different things, right? The Wyckoff accumulation that you all have seen me describe is very important and critical, right? From a Wyckoff perspective, we are now in expansion, okay? That expansion is being confirmed as an impulsive move with RSI. And looking back at any of these impulses, right? Anytime that Bitcoin has gotten into that 70 RSI, it doesn't happen very often on a weekly time frame. How often does it happen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 times in the history of this asset class. So that's that's not a lot in my opinion. That's not a lot in my opinion. And more so, let's really focus on what happens towards the beginning of these impulsive moves. And so in any of these situations, and you all can do the same thing, you'll see that typically once it enters at that above 70, it precedes more explosive price action, right? More explosive price action, right? Over 70, what happened there? More explosive price action. And this happens in a very short amount of time. Right here, we get an explosive move. Here, we get an explosive move. And so on and so forth. Okay. Doesn't guarantee that is going to happen next, right? So this is just all informing probabilities for me, but I use that as my guide to inform what I believe is going to happen next. And if I'm looking at Bitcoin on a daily chart, and I'm trying to kind of visualize, and this is daily, right? And this is the RSI on the daily, and we've got our MACD now rolling over, which is typically a bearish signal, right? That's typically a bearish signal, a daily MACD rolling over. But RSI is still firmly over 70 on the daily. And we're just kind of consolidating, right? We're consolidating, forming this ascending type of channel flag structure. And I posted this on Twitter earlier this morning, but if we go back to the last Wyckoff accumulation phase in 2020, and you guys have all seen me reference that chart. I'm not going to pull it up now, but I'm going to pull up this version of that chart. What do we also see here? Excuse me. We see kind of a similar pattern, right? And people are looking for retests, right? They're looking for retests of this. Again, this was the SOS region of that accumulation range that it kind of hovered over, and then it broke out. And the sign of a healthy, strong breakout initially, in my opinion, isn't a retest. Okay. If you're starting something, the beginning of a new trend, the beginning of expansion, I would expect no retests and very strong consolidation in the up to the right, kind of up to the right direction with very shallow dips, much like we saw in this region. And so let's just take a look at these other metrics. RSI from back here. Okay, we saw it hovered above this 70 range, but just kind of consolidated, right? And what did price do? It kept going up. What did the MACD do? MACD was doing the kind of the same thing it's doing right now, hovering right above this zero line, looking like, you know, potentially it wants to roll over. Right, you got what looks to be a cross trying to form here, but fakes out and goes back the other way. And so this is a good illustration. Let me zoom a little bit more. This is, I think, a better illustration of what I'm expecting to happen with Bitcoin right now, right? You're getting a consolidation of this RSI. You're getting, right now, we got a curl down on the MACD, but again, these are lagging indicators. The most important indicator at this point is price, is what price is doing. And this to me says it all, right? Consolidation, breakout, you know, made a 43% move after it consolidated once it entered expansion. Okay. So what would that again, and this is not to guarantee this is what's going to happen here, right? I'm using examples where Bitcoin has entered expansion, weekly RSI over 70. The indicators look very similar as they do today, to inform what my expectation is. And that's it, to inform what my expectation is. And so now we've got this line, right? This breakout line that everyone wants to get back tested. And I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I don't see that being a healthy sign of the beginning of an expansion. Much like I just shared with you on that first expansive move in the fall of 2020, what do we have going on here, right? We just have RSI kind of consolidating over 70. We've got this MACD right above the 0 line. And so this would be in the character, this would completely be in the character of the first type of expansive move for Bitcoin to, let's just take a measured move of what we saw that last time. So 40%, 43%, you know, $50,000, 50, 48, 50, 51 would be my expectation before any type of substantial correction. That's how I would kind of view this. Okay. Next. All right. Now let's look at another one of my favorite charts, because this just kind of takes out a lot of the noise, in my opinion. This is a monthly chart on Bitfinex looking at Bitcoin. Again, this channel that you've all seen me posted, and I'm a very simple man, right? I'm a very simple man, and I realize some of these things seem very difficult to achieve. However, that being said, if I'm thinking about this as just a 15-minute chart, where is my expectation for price to go next? My expectation for price to go next is here. That's my expectation. After breaking out of this accumulation range, consolidating above it, right? Breaking out above that entire range, that's my first target expectation. Given we break out and get a clean retest, or we stay consolidated over this price action and don't come back down in this direction, my next expectation would be to test the top of that channel. Is this crazy talk? Well, it's exactly what it did back here. That's exactly what it did back here. This is exactly kind of how the move started, and you guys have all seen me illustrate that many, many times. So that's my expectation on Bitcoin. All right, what's next? Let's look at the miners. The miners really made a critical move this week, although it might not have showed up in percentage terms. Again, I encourage you to check out my Twitter feed. I don't have time today to go through the pairs against Bitcoin, but I posted a chart on my Twitter feed that tells me, in confluence with what I'm seeing with this price action, that there's a high probability that a major expansive move is next. And so I've got Mara up here on a weekly chart. And what did Mara do this week? Mara frustrated some people for sure, right? Why isn't it pumping like Bitcoin is? Well, Bitcoin consolidated this week. What did Mara do? Mara broke out of this huge flagging structure. Okay, that's what we got here. We got a nice little confirmation. This is the second week after this candle, or third week after this candle, right? Type of inverted hammer type candle. And we're in this cloud, folks, and we're in this cloud. And the Ichimoku cloud to me is very, very important. And there aren't a lot of coincidences, in my opinion, right? I talk about that a lot. I mean, I'm zooming in here. Just look at where tried to kind of break back down into this channel, bounced right off the bottom of this cloud, and stayed in it. So to me, this is exactly what I want to see. This type of setup, right? This is the base. This is literally the base that Mara has been in since September. And so broke out of the base, retested the base. And to me, this looks like expansion is next. It just looks like expansion is next, folks. And with the miners, I had some questions on the miners on my Twitter feed. I'm no expert in miners, which ones are the best. I don't hold them for very, very long. I'm a pure technical swing trader when it comes to these miners, and only hold them when I perceive we have setups like we have now, right? And my goal is to exit them once we get to some of these, if and when we get to some of these price targets. I like miners with a lot of short interest. I like miners that the retail community knows about. Riot and Mara are two at the top, but there are probably other miners that are better run companies. That's just not me. I don't know. I'm not a long-term miner investor. And so I'm the wrong person to ask about that. And miners work really, really well when Bitcoin is in an impulsive move, right? Here's the way I think about it. My largest allocation is Bitcoin. I believe it's the safest in the just the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? MicroStrategy is next in terms of what type of beta you might get against Bitcoin. That you could get 1.3 to 1.5% of what Bitcoin does. So if Bitcoin does a 2x, you could get, a 3x out of potentially MicroStrategy. The miners are more like a 3x. That works really well. It has worked really well. It's no guarantee for what's going to happen in the future in the past, but that also works against you in downtrends, right? In downtrends, those Bitcoin goes down 50%. I'd expect the miners to go down 3 times that, 3x to the downside, just like it would 3x to the upside. So just wanted to lay that out there, because I think that's important as well when thinking about these things. So let's look at Riot. The Riot chart looks really strong as well, right? This looks really, really strong. And so again, with Riot, we've got never really breached this cloud region. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Never breached this cloud region. We closed near the high of the week. That's a strong move. And so for me, again, the miners are just looking like the next move is expansion. That's the way I see it. All right, let's go next. All right, if I can get these charts out of the way. All right, we're gonna do ETH next. Oh boy, ETH. All right. Well, it's nice to see. It really is nice to see moves like this when they finally start to play out. You guys have been following me. That have been following me. Have heard me talk about this setup that is very similar to the setup that we had in 2020 with this beautiful Adam and Eve double bottom, retest and go, right? And what was frustrating kind of observing this chart was we had the similar setup. It just wasn't playing out in the same kind of time frame. But that's what investing is, right? To frustrate the most amount of market participants. And so what do we see with ETH here? What do we see with ETH? Well, we see exactly what I was hoping to see 3 weeks ago. I can't remember what it was, when I just noted, look, we're in this ascending triangle. We're in this flagging structure on this cup and handle. And this was a spot that I said, if you'll remember, it needs to move. Like, there isn't any more room on this. There just isn't any more room on it. And that's exactly what it did, right? This beautiful cup and handle, Adam and Eve, whatever you want to call it. You've got 3 straight weeks of up and out. And it breached the cloud, which is bearish right down here. That was a bearish move. but it reclaimed and got back into the bullish territory. So this bodes very well for the altcoins. Very well for the altcoins. Let's take a look at some of the altcoins. I think I've got others next. Yeah, I've got others up in a line chart because I just think it's just such a clean way to look at the others. And again, this is just, remember me talking about this one, folks. Let's see, when was I talking about this one? I was talking about it a lot in this region, right? And just talking about how shallow these wicks are, shallow. And I had a different type of chart. This is up in line. But the fact that it just refused to dump, and remember how bad the markets did in September, right? September, October, but this is what the others were doing, just consolidating. And that's, you just have to have a bullish bias. You have to have a bullish bias when observing that type of price action with these wicks, right? I mean, just look at these things, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Just absolutely beautiful. And what did it do at the time you would expect moves to be made? When they're made, that is really bullish. It's really bullish, right? And where would I expect a move to be made? A bullish impulse, right? Rejection, 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 boom, bump and run, right? Now we're coming back up, rejection, 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 taking another run, consolidating at the major trend line, and it moves. That's what you want to see. So the altcoins right now are looking really, really good. Not to say that you can't get some type of back test, but for now, I'm not going to try to project which way they're going to go in the short term. Just to say that they appear to be beginning their expansive moves now. Traditional financial markets. This is one that I kind of had wrong for, I think, about a week and a half, 2 weeks, right? It's pretty long. Let's just be honest. It's pretty long to have, to have the wrong side of that move. But you guys have all heard me say, I'm not trying to trade the day to day or the week to week, right? I'm in an uptrend. I'm positioned in an uptrend, and this is an uptrend until proven otherwise. And so what do we get? What do we get this last week? We got a very, very powerful move, which confirms this C bottom for me in the bottom of 2. That's what you want to see at the end of a 2 correction. Remember, a 2 correction in Elliott wave is meant to elicit the feeling to participants that it's all over, right? We're going back down to lows. It's a bear market rally, and the market just violently reversed in the other direction. So now what do I expect? Well, if I'm looking this on the daily, I'm seeing it tried to get into this cloud, and it couldn't get into it. It couldn't get into it and close into it on the daily on Friday. And so this is a very powerful one move. My expectation would be whether we go up a little bit Monday or Tuesday, or we kind of gap down on Monday, they're to look for some type of correction prior to resumption of this next move. And that would kind of line up with, a little inverse head and shoulders, right, type of action right there. How deep will it be? I have no idea. Will it happen? I don't know, right? I mean, you could also see a scenario where this thing gaps into the cloud and you get a little bit more, and then you get a retest into the cloud and up. I have no idea. That's just guessing. That's guessing. So for now, just kind of keeping an eye on this structure, with the thought that, with generally speaking, with big moves coming out of these corrective bottoms. Let's just go look at a couple more, right? Like here's another 2, that minor 2, you got a big move, and then you got 1, 2, 3, a 3-day correction prior to resumption of the trend, right? Here was the end of 3. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of correction prior to the resumption. The big one back in October, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days. Basically, the market trended up, and then you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of correction. So just putting that out there. to be open to, a corrective move at some point, which would be very healthy in the context of the new uptrend as I'm visualizing it right now. All right, what's next? Nasdaq. So Nasdaq, I did last week again, and again, this one came just a bit lower than I expected, but still respected the area I was looking at as a possibility, right? The bottom end of this channel. This is just one massive bull flag, right? One massive bull flag. And so that was always a possibility to me, right, to come back down and test this. But at this region, as I noted, I was calling for, a pretty sharp reversal, and we got it. So we got it. So that's what I wanted to see, right? We had this bullish divergence playing out, right? Price, RSI, and a nice little cup and handle type of formation, just very bullish structures, right? Bullish structures. And so what do I want to see? I would love to see us hold above this $13,000 range this week. And again, I'm open to a few day correction prior to resumption of this trend. That's a heck of a move to happen so quickly. So certainly open to a few more days consolidation correction, do a little inverse head and shoulders here. Wouldn't surprise me, right? Like one of these guys, like a little one there, and then move. Let me just throw up the 30-week. I'm curious to where we are. Oh, and we closed above the 30-week. So that's bullish, right? We had 1-2 weeks close below it. Remember what I always say, right? In the trend, in the direction of the trend, that this is the most important thing, right? In the direction of the trend, this is the most important thing. And so a close above the 30 doesn't mean as much as the trend. Okay. A close below the 30 doesn't mean as much as the trend. And so, so there's that. Nice to see that. All right. What is next? The dollar. Okay. The dollar finally is cooperating as well. This gravestone doji that I have been tracking for a number of weeks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, so a month, really. And since we printed this gravestone doji on the weekly in this area, which I was kind of marking out as a deviation, and we've got a nice confirmation candle here of a new trend emerging. That's the way I look at this candle. This bearish candle has engulfed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of price action in 1 week. That's a heck of a move. Couldn't breach the cloud. And so again, does this mean this is just going to go straight down next week? Absolutely not. Could get a test right before resumption down. But my full expectation remains that we're getting a resumption of this downtrend. All right, gold. Gold on the weekly chart just continues to look bullish to me, right? Consolidating in this rectangular structure after 3 just powerful weeks. 3 powerful weeks. This cloud acted as beautiful support. The bottom end of this, the sign of strength area acted as support. Reclaimed the 30-week, hovering above the 30-week, hovering at this range high, consolidating very nicely. The structure here remains bullish. Doesn't mean can't go down next week, a couple weeks before it goes back up, or just keeps running. I have no idea. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the trends, and the trends are still intact and still look very, very much constructive to me. All right, let's look at the 10-year. So the 10-year, we've been tracking this kind of triangular bullish structure breakout, also tracking this bearish divergence on the weekly. And, right now it looks potentially like we have a top. The key to me in kind of confirming have yields topped out is going to be its reaction in this region right here, right? I want to see what happens in this region. I want to see if this gets a strong, right? Because that's a possibility. Or if we get, you know, a little consolidation and then up and under test, that would be what I'd be looking for. The trigger right there telling me that, you know what, this trend has now, you can call it a trend change, right? I can't call this trend change, because for right now you still have, remember my principles on Bitcoin, right? This is a higher high, this is a higher low, right? You got a higher high, higher low. And so until we get that type of move that I'm talking about, right, something like that, that's when I can start thinking to myself that a new trend has emerged. All right, folks, that is it. That's going to wrap up the video. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And I look forward to doing next week's video, where I feel like we're going to get some resolution on the Bitcoin consolidation. Like I mentioned on the TradFi, I would expect some consolidation or even a few-day correction, given the move that we've seen. I mean, that's a heck of a move in a week. So that would be completely normal. Take care, and I will do more of these every weekend.